Netflix quit and Paramount is in. Guys, first thing before we get started, I need you to put in the comments, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Next, let's check out what Emergency Awesome has to say. Original video link in the description. All right, here we go. I really do want to know what he thinks. I am so dumb at this stuff, guys. I don't know which company would be better.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Surprise, surprise.
What's up, Charlie?
Netflix just announced that it was backing out of the deal to buy Warner Brothers after Paramount raised their bid to a crazy high level, $111 billion, clearing a path for them.
Guys, that is nuts. That is nuts that anybody even has that much money to do, like, just, a side buy. Like, this will be one of the things that I own.
To win Warner Brothers, not Netflix. There have been some leaked conversations recently from David Zaslav, who's the head of Warner Brothers behind the scenes, to give us some more information about what's really going on long term and what this is going to mean for the next couple of years. I know there's going to be a ton of questions about what's going to
I like that shirt.
happen with the future of the DC movies, TV shows, James Gunn, who's getting fired, who's sticking around, what's getting canceled, how much are they going to raise prices to pay for all this?
Now, I saw a rumor saying that James Gunn was going to get fired or leave or quit. I've seen, just in the past few days, rumors that Netflix was going to take over and do the Snyderverse, and I'm like, there's just so much crap out there, guys. People just say stuff, okay? That's why I do this channel, to figure out what is actually true. And if you know better than these people, put it in the comments, because I don't know.
The answer to that last one is a lot. The prices are going to go up a lot. Future of the Game of Thrones universe, the future of movie theaters just in general, just basically a lot of the stuff that I would normally be making videos on week to week, TV shows and movies. So we will break it all down because it does get into the weeds a little bit, so I'll try to simplify some of this as much as possible.
Please.
But if you do have questions...
Because that little map, look, it's just breaking my brain. Like, what is that?
Get into the weeds a little bit, so I'll try to simplify some of this as much as possible. But if you do have questions along the way, just ask them in the comments below, and I'll try to elaborate on stuff. Even though this all seems like Paramount is going to win...
Actually, I have the questions. I want y'all to tell me.
Brothers, that's not exactly what happened a couple days ago, so we will try to clarify that. Generally, it's a huge mess that could wind up in disaster, as a lot of financial experts have pointed out the last couple of days. This whole thing might wind up ending disastrously for both Paramount and Warner Brothers long term, leaving them bankrupt, and Netflix just swooping in like 10 to 15 years to pick up the pieces and ultimately wind up getting what they wanted anyway at a...
Oh, is that true? Like, this could just be... Oh, you think that could be part of their plan? Like, how about let's just let them bankrupt each other, and then we'll just buy both of them? Like, do you think that's part of it? Because at Netflix, I'm assuming Netflix is the bigger, like, deal here. They're the most richest, is that the way to put it? And has the most pull to be able to do this? I don't know. Like I said, y'all are probably listening to me think I'm an idiot. Put in the comments what I need to de-idiify on.
Huge discount. Because now Paramount is going to have about $111 billion worth of debt, and they just bought Paramount. Skydance just bought Paramount. Now they're trying to buy Warner Brothers again. That's what this is all about. So they've taken all this additional debt, like $111 billion of debt, and they haven't really proven that they can run a successful media company yet. What makes them think that they're going to be able to actually run Warner Brothers successfully? So this might end in bankruptcy for both companies.
All right.
There are a lot of reasons.
Is Charlie on a certain side, guys? I don't really know. I've watched his videos, but I can't remember if he's a Netflix guy or a Paramount guy. Let me know if he's got a lean here that's making him say certain things.
To be worried. I know there are a lot of questions too, so I will explain. We do know some details about the future of a lot of stuff that's happening.
Okay.
The main reason everyone was freaking out the last couple of days is mostly because of what...
He loves to show that interview with James Gunn. He's like, listen, guys, I know what I'm talking about. I spoke to James Gunn.
Netflix did. Everyone knew that Paramount was going to try and one-up Netflix and be the winning bidder for Warner Brothers. They only had a couple days left up to the beginning of last week to give their final and best offer, which wound up being the $111 billion, way higher than Netflix's bid.
That should let you know, too. They have... This isn't just a, oh, we'll buy that. This is a, like, we have some plans. Okay, we know a way to turn a profit with this. It's worth it to us to do this much money because we know what to do. That plan may not include James Gunn. It may not include Zack Snyder. It may include both or none. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to me because they're not going to go into this stuff just thinking, we might be able to make it work. No, they've got plans, and that's what I want to know. What are the plans? If you know,
What do we have here?
More money than I have, that's for sure. But I do really want to know if you guys know any of their actual plans, not the rumor
Netflix was
stuff.
also only trying to buy a small part of the company, the streaming side and the movie studio, which is like the profitable side of Warner Brothers right now. The money-losing side is what all the linear TV networks are. Warner Brothers has been trying to spin that off from the more profitable side of the business the past couple of years. They're about to do that later this year.
Cartoon Network.
Paramount then came in and said that they wanted both sides of the business, both the money-earning streaming and movie studio side of the business and the linear TV side as well, which is where all the extra money came from their bid, why it's so much higher than Netflix's bid. As a lot of you have probably asked, why is
Mr. B, that money cannot be that heavy, is it?
Warner Brothers so desperate to sell itself to Paramount, Netflix, any other company? The last couple of years, they've actually earned a ton of profit. They've done very well as a company, so why do they need to sell to anybody at all? Well, it's all because of tech bros in a series of very disastrous mergers and buyouts that Warner Bros. Has gone through. Currently, they're holding over $30 billion in debt from the disastrous Warner Brothers Discovery merger just a couple years ago, and then a couple years before that, the also...
Did he say 30 billion? Did I hear that right? Hold up.
Warner Brothers Discovery holding over $30 billion in...
The captions. 30 billion!
...debt from the disastrous Warner Brothers Discovery merger just a couple years ago, and then a couple years before that, the also disastrous AT&T merger. You probably remember that because it was a total dumpster fire.
30 billion! That's a dumpster fire.
And even
of money, a dumpster full of money.
Further back, if you remember way back in the day, AOL purchased Time Warner, which was then the former version of Warner Brothers, which was also disastrous for both companies at the time. So that's why I say the real villain here has been tech bros, like big tech companies trying to buy media companies.
That's it. That right there.
Then not really understanding how they work or how to run them.
He should have put like little Netflix faces and stuff on things.
Winding up in disastrous consequences financially for both parties. So even though Warner Brothers has done really well with its movies and TV shows the last couple of years, earned lots of profits, they're left holding this $30 billion bag around their necks.
Come on!
It's a little bit like you graduate from college and you get a really high-paying job, but the debt from your student loans is so big that you're not able to save any money or pay for anything nice.
Right.
Warner Brothers is now desperate to get rid of that.
A lot of y'all can relate to that.
$30 billion in debt. In swoops Netflix and Paramount with their much deeper pockets, because even though Paramount is a much smaller company than Warner Brothers, like much smaller,
so that's what I was
the
asking,
Ellisons, who are one of the richest families in the world, are backing the deal, along with a couple other big conglomerates that have thrown their money into the pile. Up to last week, David Zaslav had been telling the Warner Brothers shareholders that the Netflix offer for the company was a superior one and they should vote for Netflix to buy the company. But Netflix was only buying the streaming side of the business for the movie studio as well for somewhere in the high $80 billion. Paramount then came in at the beginning of last week with their final and best offer, which was $111 billion, obviously much more money for both sides of the company.
Yeah.
And right as Paramount was making that announcement on their final bid, the CEO of Netflix was having a meeting with Trump at the White House and regulatory officials, and then promptly came out of the meeting.
Okay, I think I asked this a minute ago. I can't remember. Is there a political agenda to this stuff? I've heard people saying stuff. I can't figure out, like, is one red and one's blue? Actually, the logos are, aren't they? But like, is that kind of what's happening here a little bit? Is there a political element to it, or is it really just more whichever one can play the politics? Is it not that one is red and one is blue? It's just that like, I want to know, because I don't know. I don't have a clue. I just know that it's a very big deal and it affects my guy over here. And I want to know.
Announced that Netflix would not be matching Paramount's higher bid, and they were backing out of the deal. And in his statement, he said that Netflix was not prepared to buy Warner Brothers at any price. They didn't want it that badly and thought that Paramount was overpaying for what they thought Warner Brothers was actually worth. And it had turned into...
Wait. Why would they put in a bid that high if they didn't actually... What?
To a bad deal for Netflix. Like, even though they theoretically have unlimited money, at a certain point they thought the deal was a bad...
See, that's why it could be they were just raising things. No, but I don't know.
deal.
I don't know.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Yes.
Also, because of his meeting at the White House, it sounds like Netflix found out that the regulatory hurdles that they would have to cross in order to get the government to approve the buyout would be too difficult.
Guys, that's from Community. That episode is hilarious. Love it.
The deal might not ultimately have gone through. Just because these companies are trying to buy Warner Brothers doesn't mean the government is going to approve the actual buyout. Case in point, in a recent leaked statement from behind the scenes, David Zaslav, after Paramount announced their winning bid and they announced that they were going to accept it, said that even though Paramount was the winning bidder, didn't mean that the government would approve the buyout, and this would take a couple years to shake out, and it ultimately might wind up in a situation where Warner Brothers winds up staying as an independent company on its own, which I think most people actually prefer as the outcome.
Okay, that's not one I hear any of y'all say. You either pick one, Paramount or Netflix. Would you just prefer that they get their act together and stay an independent company? Is that what you would prefer? I don't think they've been run well, so I think everybody's hoping that somebody will come in and run them better, but it would be nice if they could just fix themselves, you know?
They just stay their own company right now. They can spin off the linear TV side of the business, leave them holding that $30 billion debt bag, and they'll be fine. One of the other key details that helped Paramount win the Warner Brothers bid was to sweeten the deal financially by offering to pay all the necessary fees associated with the actual buyout, because Warner Brothers had to back out of an existing deal with Netflix. So as part of that, Warner Brothers owed Netflix $2.8 billion to terminate their contract with them, which Paramount offered to pay. So basically, Paramount is paying the bill for a lot of different things that necessarily they shouldn't have to pay for.
Now, he said several times, Netflix has the deeper pockets. Can Paramount afford to do that?
And in a couple years, if the government does not approve the Paramount Warner Brothers buyout, they also have to pay Warner Brothers a $7 billion fee for the trouble that they went through over the last couple of years and the other expenses they accrued in trying to execute the buyout. So right now, this is a zero-risk situation for Warner Brothers financially, and Paramount is paying for anything that goes wrong over the next couple of years. When it actually comes to people getting fired at Warner Brothers, them changing movies, TV shows in really big ways, the creative in a really big way, currently David Ellison, who is the head of Skydance Paramount, the person in charge of trying to buy Warner Brothers, and will be in charge of the combined companies eventually, has said that he wants to keep James Gunn and Peter Safran running DC movies and TV shows, all the different things that I would normally be doing videos for week to week on my channel. Paramount doesn't have any short-term plans to mess with what James Gunn is doing currently with the DCU. So, Man of Tomorrow's...
Did Netflix have plans to mess with what he's doing, or were they just kind of silent on that?
Supergirl, Clayface, The Batman Part 2, Batman Brave and the Bold Lanterns, all the upcoming movies and TV shows that James Gunn has announced are still happening the way that he wants them to. If Paramount does decide to make changes to the DCU, that wouldn't happen till a little bit later on, longer term, like beyond 2030. What you would probably notice is that longer term, Paramount would want them to prioritize characters, movies, TV shows that they think will be the most profitable, the most popular, which might make it harder for James Gunn to make riskier bets on weirder fringe characters like he's traditionally done. Like if you look at his oeuvre, he typically does C-list really weird characters and tries to do them real big writ large.
True.
But at least short term, don't expect Paramount to force James Gunn to put Batman and Superman in the same movie together.
Yeah, I hope they don't. Because I think that's what happened with Zack Snyder, which I think I'm reacting to a video on that soon. About how, he had a plan for a Man of Steel 2, which I've said this a bunch, but it got morphed into a Batman versus Superman.
The thing about this, though, is that James Gunn has already said that he plans to do stuff like this, like World's Finest Batman and Superman stuff. The stuff that you would expect Paramount to force him to make, you don't actually have to force him to make because he already wants to make it himself. Do another big Justice League team up, put all your most popular characters in a movie together. He's basically heading in that direction right now.
When I was at Marvel, saying my favorite character is Batman, I love him, and we're gonna do great things with him.
See, I wish there was somebody whose favorite character was Superman doing a Superman movie. That is what I wished. If I had the money, guys, I'd be all over a Superman trilogy for sure.
Most popular superhero in the world, and I can't wait for people to see more of him, along with Superman, and together.
Along with that other guy. I have a heart for, I've said.
On the TV side of things, HBO has been the crown jewel in this whole buyout, like the one thing that Netflix and Paramount want the most, in addition to the movie studio itself. The only big changes that you would see in things like the Game of Thrones universe, like House of the Dragon, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, is Paramount would also want them to prioritize what they thought were the biggest potential hits of all the different Game of Thrones series that they could potentially do, like an Aegon's Conquest series, a Robert's Rebellion series, eventually a reboot of the original Game of Thrones series in like another 15 to 20 years. Generally, the stuff that's been coming out of HBO is way better than the stuff coming out of Paramount in terms of TV, so I think the idea is they're basically going to let HBO do whatever it feels like doing. And remember, this full deal, if it is successful, even if it is successful,
hasn't HBO always kind of just done whatever it feels like doing?
Will take at least
That's how it's got its start, right?
2 to 3 years to complete. Remember how long it took Disney to buy Fox? That took them 3 years to complete the deal. So you really wouldn't notice any differences in Warner Brothers related stuff like the big DC movies, TV shows, or HBO stuff in the way that stuff is marketed or what they've announced for at least 3 to 4 years. Then in about 4 to 5 years, they would probably try to combine HBO Max with Paramount Plus into a single streaming service. That will be like the other real big change, just combining a lot of their streaming efforts. For the most part, this is still early days. The government isn't anywhere close to approving this. Even the state of California said that they're actually actively trying to prevent this from going down.
That was the one thing I said from the beginning. My little knowledge of business is that this stuff takes a long time. People were like, "Oh, Netflix has got them." I'm like, "Well, it takes a while. It takes a while for this stuff to happen this way. It's not like when you go to the store and you buy a candy bar. It's not like, oh, it's yours now. There's a lot that happens."
So we will see how this shakes out. It will take at least...
I was part of a radio station once that was getting bought and sold. We were there for a year under the contract of them going to buy us out, and then he decided after a year to not buy us. The guy that was buying, he was there for a year, working there every single day, and he decided, nah, I don't think I can make money with this station.
Till the end of the year before we get a final announcement on them beginning the actual buyout process. Then another couple years after that to make it through regulatory hurdles, and then like another year after that for them to actually physically combine the companies and fire all the people that they want to fire and mess with all the stuff that they want to mess with. So we will all be like 5 years older before you actually notice that companies have been combined. None of the movies, none of the TV shows that Warner Brothers is connected to, like DC movies, DC TV shows, HBO, Game of Thrones related stuff, like literally anything coming from any of those networks or those movie studios is going to change over the next couple of years.
Okay.
So what they've already announced will just continue the way that they have announced it. I'm sure there's going to be a billion more questions about what's going on with this as we dig through all the details the rest of the year. Remember, it is going to take the rest of the year for this to finish, so you won't actually hear about real buyout stuff happening till like the very end of the year.
Right.
But if there's anything that I didn't address during the video that you have questions about, just write them below in the comments. Speaking of which, I literally just did.
Guys, that's a pretty good video. Let me know what you think. I really want to know, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Would you prefer that they just stay their own independent company and get their act together and figure stuff out on that end? I don't know. I have no idea which would be better. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to check out my Amazon store with all sorts of Superman stuff in one place. Remember, guys, brand new superhero reaction channel. Subscribe. Like Superman. Live humbly. Do good.